2020 is a key year for biodiversity. It marks the deadline for achieving the international HE targets and is the midpoint of the Scottish Government's biodiversity strategy. Of course, targets and strategies are just the starting point. It then needs governments, conservation organisations, and every single one of us to do things. Our awards this year recognise just that. Individuals and groups who get on with making things better. Not because they get a grant or financial incentive, but because they know it's important for all of us, especially for future generations. I have no doubt that news reports of this occasion might describe our winners as ordinary people, but in fact they are all extraordinary people. So if you take anything away from this presentation, let it be your determination to follow their example and help make a difference too. There is a long-standing group of dedicated individuals who generously give their time to improve the protection, understanding and enjoyment of an often maligned group of wildlife. While the rest of us are sitting by the fire or watching TV, they are probably out in the dark with their electronic gadgetry or crawling about in dingy lofts. At other times they will be hosting events to show that the subjects of their interest are not the blood-sucking monsters of horror films, but harmless furry beasties that are really our friends, not least because each one can eat thousands of midges every night. Apart from the help these volunteers give to our wildlife, their work is of great value to the decision-making of planning authorities and others. Our first award goes to the Batwomen, Batmen and Bat Children of the North East Scotland Bat Group. There is a saying that behind every great man there is a great woman, but our next winner has 3 behind him, his daughters, who help to keep him on course. His job may not have an obvious connection with biodiversity, but with his team he has done a fantastic job of showing how room for wildlife can be made anywhere, if you just use your imagination, think outside the box, and of course, listen to your daughters. Earlier this year he won the UK-wide Operation Pollinator Award within his industry and demonstrates a talent for using whatever is available to create new projects. And beyond his own place of work, he shares ideas and encourages others. With the hashtag #MoreThanAGolfCourse, Bankery Golf Club provides excellent sport for members, a home to growing numbers of wildlife, and a location for evening wildlife walks and community engagement. We are delighted to make this award to course manager Richard Mullen. Our next award goes to a couple who farm over 400 hectares. That's 22 times bigger than Duthie Park in Aberdeen. For more than 25 years they have been pursuing a more sustainable approach to farming, often being first to try out new biodiversity ideas, including restoring hedges, creating wetland areas, and adding to the semi-natural areas they already had. Native woodland has been restored on their hill ground, and a nationally important grassland site on their farm hosts many species that have declined across much of Scotland. Apart from the wildlife benefit, this approach also provides improved shelter for farm livestock. But it doesn't stop there. Footpaths have been added to allow the public to enjoy these areas too, and their farm is regularly used for farm walks, demonstration visits, and sharing good practice events. We are delighted to make this award to Murray's farming dynamic duo, Beth and Roger Poulsen. The Bin Rangers Club is a family-run voluntary group that provides activities for children and young adults in the Bin Forest near Huntly. The group meet monthly, and over the year the children do everything from pond dipping and bird box making to practicing their forest skills and even having overnight camps. Along with one primary and one secondary school, they took part in our Young Recorders of the Year pilot project, set up to mark Scotland's Year of Young People 2018. They were provided with a resource box which included camera traps ID guides, and so on. The resource box stayed with the group at the end of the project, allowing their continued use for many years to come. The wildlife records acquired during the project included some great camera trap footage of pine marten and will make a real contribution to the region's knowledge and hopefully also inspired other young people to observe wildlife in their own local green spaces and to continue submitting their records to the local Wildlife Record Centre. The club is made up of so many enthusiastic families that want to share their love of wildlife and the outdoors with their children. Most successful groups also have a motivator, someone who spots any opportunity and makes the most of it with their infectious enthusiasm. In an endless stream of amazing ideas, the adults have as much fun as the children. For his work with the Bin Rangers Club, we are delighted to present this award to Matthew Agnew. The UK has 300 wildlife watch groups, all organised by volunteer leaders who are passionate about their local wildlife. Established 4 years ago, Aberdeen Wildlife Watch Group continues to be led by just such a person, mainly providing opportunities for 8 to 12-year-olds to discover the natural world. They also welcome older children to take on the role of junior helpers, not only enabling members to understand the importance of the natural world, but also the importance of taking part and helping others. An important lesson here is that towns and cities are just as important for wildlife as our remotest countryside. And because so many Scots live in towns and cities, there are many wildlife gains to be made there too. And so they are becoming more actively involved in projects like the establishment of wildflower areas, which are more attractive than large areas of mown grass and provide food for insects, many of which pollinate the fruit and vegetable crops on our farms and in our gardens. For her dedicated work, this award goes to Kirsten Dixon. So far, we have had Batwomen and Batmen, as well as the dynamic duo. Our next award goes to someone who is most definitely Birdwoman. Like all our other winners, she has the motivation, commitment and stamina to do what needs to be done and to keep going year after year when others might have moved on to the next hot issue. Reading about the major decline in common swift numbers, she decided she had to do something, and in her own words, she began walking the streets looking for swifts. These birds are some of the most acrobatic and spectacular birds that come to breed in Scotland after a winter spent in Africa. Tirelessly giving talks, working with schools, alerting building owners if they have swifts, and encouraging them to keep their nesting sites open, as well as encouraging the use of swift nesting bricks in new buildings. We are delighted to make this award to Callie Smith. Our next winner is a community trust that grew out of an initiative to help communities to create the sort of place they wanted. Over the years, they have undertaken many imaginative schemes and projects, such as setting up their own wind turbine to bring in money. And 6 years ago, they bought Green Myers Farm. Now, that may seem a somewhat unusual move for a trust centred on and around a town of 4,500 people, but it's typical of their bold and innovative thinking. The 25 hectares of grazing land, associated buildings, and new paths are becoming the focus of a range of business and leisure activities for the community. But once again, opportunities for wildlife are a strong theme running throughout this ambitious project. New shelter belts are of native trees. Access has been provided to the pond. Native wildflowers have been planted and wildlife is already increasing. And of course, all the extra pollinating insects will be benefiting local farmers and growers too. A second pond, already teeming with wildlife, was completed in January 2020, and like our other winners, They are in it for the long haul, so we are delighted to present this award to Huntly and District Development Trust. It's great to see farming so well represented in our awards this year, and our next winner follows that pattern, albeit by a slightly roundabout route. He studied economics and business at university, but the lure of the land proved stronger than the glitter of high finance. Returning to the family farm, he resolved that future management would be based on sound economic and sustainable choices. Farming next to the River Devon near Macduff, the land has been affected by infestations of hazardous non-native giant hogweed from seeds washed down the river. The conventional and expensive treatment is usually herbicide spray, but if that is not sustained, long and hard-won gains can easily be lost in a short time. Enter the newest weapon in the campaign against invasive non-native species, the sheep. With careful monitoring to ensure their welfare, the sheep can graze the young plants each spring without any ill effects and gradually reduce the extent of the giant hogweed menace. This is good for people who want to enjoy the river and helps the return of native wildlife previously overwhelmed by the invader. For his great work supporting the Devon Rivers Trust, this award goes to Dan Gordon and his sheep. We all know how much a day in the outdoors lifts the spirits, whether it's a day spent discovering the beasties in a pond, making a nest box, or helping to clear a footpath. Our next award goes to a group which enables those using mental health services in Scotland to get the benefit of such opportunities too. It also demonstrates the importance of different organisations collaborating and pooling their expertise in a way that makes best use of limited resources. Funding comes from Aberdeenshire Council, the National Lottery, NHS Grampian, Tesco Bags of Help, NHS Endowment Fund, with active support provided by Countryside Ranger Tony Watt, the Outdoor and Woodland Learning North East Group, Alcohol and Drugs Action, Scottish Association for Mental Health, and Community Mental Health. Through a programme of woodland crafts and activities, including the John Muir Award Scheme, participants develop increased self-confidence, self-esteem, and the capacity to engage and work with others. With strong links to local communities, participants are able to take up new opportunities for training, leisure, employment, and volunteering, and to join a growing Branching Out Plus community that promotes wider peer support and ongoing outdoor engagement, including regular conservation work. In recognition of the inclusive nature of their work to help make the natural world accessible to everyone, we are delighted to make this award to the Branching Out South Aberdeenshire project. Our next winner is yet another individual whose commitment and passion is legendary, but now is not the time to talk about his guitar collection. As an environmental project manager with Scottish and Southern Electricity Networks, SSEN, he has showcased the creation of biodiversity features for amphibians and invertebrates as part of a wider Syria award-winning project. He is providing input on habitat classification and recording for the SSEN Biodiversity Toolkit, which will enable the biodiversity net gain of projects to be quantified. SSEN's approach to biodiversity, underpinned by their Biodiversity Toolkit, is multi-award winning and acts as a challenge to other companies and businesses to match these standards and successes. In his spare time, he is always active, organising and leading numerous volunteering activities, sharing knowledge, and mentoring others across a variety of species and recording schemes, especially the survey and recording of spiders, badgers, water voles, bats and amphibians. Indeed, it might be quicker to list what he hasn't contributed to. And once again, you won't be surprised to hear he has two strong women to keep him on track. This award goes to Alistair Watson. The final award is our annual recognition of a lifetime's achievement in ecology, conservation and biodiversity. At age 80, he is still carrying out plant surveys and checking records. He is the Botanical Society of Britain and Ireland's recorder for both North Aberdeenshire and Kincardineshire, a task he now shares with the young David Elston. His interest in plants was kindled at school in Lancashire, and his records from the 1950s found their way into the first 1962 Atlas of the British Flora. At Cambridge University, he continued his studies in botany, but also sang in the Downing College Choir and captained the college chess team. He joined the Nature Conservancy as resident botanist at Moorhouse Nature Reserve and Research Station in the Pennines, undertaking research in moorland ecology. After 7 years there, he was headhunted by David Jenkins, who was establishing a mountain and moorland research centre at Blackhall near Bankery. In 1973, the research staff of the Nature Conservancy were split off to form the separate Institute of Terrestrial Ecology, and a new base was established nearby at Hill of Brathens. A 1991 fire started there by animal activists almost destroyed the only copies of all his plant records which were stored on card files. Theoretically retired in 2000, he continued his range and woodland ecology work on Marlodge Estate and Ballachbuie, recently completing 2 major reports, and the third Atlas of British Flora, due out this year, will also have his contributions. Definitely one of the giants of Scottish ecology, we are delighted to make this award to David Welch. We are sure that you have been impressed by these people. We certainly were. None of them are waiting for the government or the council or anyone else to do what needs to be done. They are getting on with it themselves. Action and personal responsibility are things our Biodiversity Partnership strongly believes in and celebrates. We are delighted to see and hear about the many people getting on with the things that need to be done. So what are you waiting for? What will you do for our ever-declining biodiversity? It's not just important for us, it will be increasingly important for future generations.